and welcome to the next episode of the Inner Excursions podcast. I'm here with Stacy Katz.
Hello.
My name's Heather Quick, and today we're answering the question, am I doing it wrong?
AIDIW, the dreaded. Am I doing this wrong? Am I doing it right? Who has the answers?
Yes. Do I want to keep playing this game? Right. Well, Stacy, what made you think of this topic today? You brought this topic.
Yeah, I was at a book signing event with a lot of people I went to high school with, where I was, reconnecting, and they were asking me what I was up to, and I was telling them about my mindset coaching, and people were like, "What is that all about? What does that mean?" And sort of what I got was that there's this, and I've had this too, of people who I study with, master coaches, where you feel like they've really got it figured out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really like this consistent, high performing playing field where they're just sort of flowing and breezing through life and not letting anything get them down. And I really want to be real on this podcast. And I think it doesn't serve anybody to pretend that as mindset coaches, things don't get to us. Even, like the other day, I felt like down for nothing really specific. And I knew that I had a bunch of great tools in my toolkit, right? And I could have done some, what I call freedom writing. I could have gone for a walk. I could have, meditated. And, my crabby self was like, yeah, no, it's feeling a lot like, ice cream and a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Right. And so and that's okay. The great thing is I would have like beaten myself up for it. I would have should all over myself. I should be doing this. I should be doing that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have enjoyed the ice cream and the YouTube as a sense of, I wouldn't have gotten relief from it, because I would have just been shitting all over myself, and that wasn't enough of a solution. Instead, I was like, yeah, I see that I have infinite possibilities of getting myself out of this crabby state.
Yeah.
And I am owning and choosing the path of ice cream and YouTube.
Yeah.
And that's best, right? And before that wouldn't have, if you're not intentional, I was intentional about my choice, right?
Sure.
And it's not like the number one recommended tool in my toolbox, just FYI, but it was just one of those days. I'd been traveling, my energy was low, and I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling, I picked one of the old ways.
Sure.
But I did it with full ownership.
Yeah. That's the difference. Yeah. I think some people come into personal development or spirituality with this idea that they will no longer have any doubt, fear, shame, tiredness, like the human experience. And so we're, the tagline on this podcast is about loving, learning to be human, learning to love being human. And so I just love this idea of presencing that we're not trying to eradicate any of those things. Like those are also pieces of gold of being human. Do I want to live? Do I want shame to be the primary lens through which I view life? No, thank you. Been there, done that, not that fun. I'd like to do something else now, right? But I'm not trying to eradicate all contrast from my life. I'm not trying to make sure I have no more ice cream and YouTube days, right? Like, no, that's a beautiful part of living. And what if the question, am I doing it wrong, is the thing in the way of the freedom of never doing it wrong again? Right? When we're down, when we're low, when we're in shame, when we're in fear, when we're in doubt, right? What if that's the question, am I doing it wrong, that's actually in the way of the freedom that we're craving?
Yeah. And it's also, I turn that on its head and go, what if it's impossible to do it wrong? What if I'm always doing it right? What if I decide what's right and wrong for me? I think that's also part of the gift of, our inner excursion, is that am I doing it wrong is an external, who decides that,
Yes.
right? Who decides that? But if I'm deciding, if it's an inner excursion,
Yeah.
what if I'm doing it right? What if nobody gets to tell me there's another way to do it?
Yeah. Beautiful. And I think once you get to that place, you could even up level and say, what would be a game, a framework that I could look at myself through that didn't have right and wrong involved, that eliminated that polarity, that inevitability that I was going to choose one,
Mm.
right? When I looked at myself, my actions, my behavior, my relationships, my results, right? What if I always was just focusing on creating what was next instead of what was right and what was wrong? And, just like I put everything in the framework of the seasons, but, we're on a planet, right, that does have actual physical cycles to it. And so, it goes winter, spring, summer, fall. That's how it goes. There's no skipping. Different places on the planet have different experiences of all of it. But what if after summer comes fall? And after fall comes winter, and after winter comes spring, and after spring comes summer. And we're always somewhere in that cycle, no matter whether it's just in the month, whether it's in our business, whether we were just, right, really blooming, it was summer and we were doing all the things, right? Well, maybe now it's time to slow down and have a little rest and relook at what we would love to create and create something new. I think if it's happening, it's somewhere on the cycle,
Mm.
right? Just like a day, if the weather is happening, it's somewhere in the cycle of the seasons. It's here, it's real. We can look out the window and say, is the weather right or wrong? But is that like the game I want to play with the weather? Or do I want to say, this is what's here? What would I love to create now with this? So what if my feelings were the weather? What if the behavior of my children was the weather? What if anything that happens, right? How much money I made this month in my business was the weather? And instead of saying, oh, is the weather doing it right or wrong, right? What if it's, oh, here it is, right? What experience is there to have here, right? And my question is always, how can I make the next moment more beautiful than this one?
Oh, love
Not to
that.
say that this moment isn't beautiful, but what if me acknowledging the power that I have in myself, that's like the only thing to do next, and that there can always be a more beautiful moment. And so that's just, alternative orientation,
Yes,
right?
I love that.
Yeah.
And, at University of Santa Monica, where I got a master's in spiritual psychology, there's this quote that's fundamental to the principles and practices, and it is from Rumi, and it
Mm.
says, out beyond right doing and wrongdoing, there's a field, I'll meet you there.
Meet you there, Stacy.
Right?
I'll
And
meet
it's
you
so it's like,
there.
what if we just stop judging and evaluating, making meaning of like,
Yeah.
my sister said this and my son did that and my work did this,
Yeah.
and it's bad or good or enough or not enough. And what if we could hold everything in neutrality?
Hmm.
How much more spaciousness there is to create from that space, right?
Yes. Right.
And there's more peace because you don't have to figure it all out mentally. You can just be in acceptance and then create.
Yeah. Creating from not peace for me is usually fight, flight,
Yeah.
right? All those F words, right? And feed, fuck, all the things that we do, right?
Yeah.
When we're trying to fix what's wrong. But if I can change the questions and the way that I evaluate how I look at the weather, but as a metaphor for everything happening around me, right? Then I can know that there's nothing to fix. There's just something to create next. And the idea that there's something wrong, there's something to fix. I'm not saying that I want to keep everything the same. That's not what we're saying, right? That like, don't judge it. So some people, take non-judgment to a place where don't have any impact, don't make any change, don't have any preferences. Nope, nope, nope. Everything's okay. And I have some real serious preferences that I'm going to put some real serious effort into
Yeah.
creating, right? You can have both at the same time, but it's um you are in substantially less possibility, right? When you are resisting what is, right? When you're wondering if this is wrong.
And judgment and fear, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the people I've met recently, his wife is dying of cancer,
Mhm.
and he's, obviously humanly trying to cope with that. And, my offer to him is, what if we can make this the most beautiful year
Yes.
possible, right? And
Yes.
when we're not, this is wrong, I'm not okay with it, I'm fighting it, I'm resisting it. What if we accept that, you don't have to like it, but this
Yep.
is where it is. What can I do now to make the now more beautiful, more tender,
Mm,
more loving?
yeah.
There's much more accessible when we're coming from
Yes.
that place.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh, I like to say, putting down the sword and picking up the paintbrush. So
Mm.
when I have the sword, I'm figuring out who's right and who's wrong and how to win. Right. And so lots of times I'm taking the sword against myself. Right. I'm doing it wrong. That's the
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be some other way, or I was supposed to do something differently. But when I can put the sword down, and oh, when you have a sword, all you can do with the sword is chop stuff up. That's all,
Bleeding.
right? You can
Pain
bleed.
and bleeding.
Yes, but when I put the sword down, which is putting down the question, is this right or wrong? And pick up the paintbrush and ask, what would I love to create? Then I can paint something that at the end, I can create without worrying if I'm going to say at the end, did I do a good job? Right now that I'm talking about, you can definitely create art and criticize yourself afterwards, right? Or judge yourself afterwards. But I'm talking about if we're putting down the sword first, right? You could have a sword in one hand and a paintbrush in the other hand. That art's not going to be that much fun to create, you know? But if you can really put down the sword or put it in the sheath, right? Like I need a sword sometimes, I want to be fluent in my sword swinging, right? But I also want to put it in the sheath so I can hold my paintbrush and just create something beautiful in my relationships, in my work, in my just care of myself and of my experience in the world, right? So yeah, let's all pick up some paintbrushes.
Yeah. Yeah. And not be judging what we're creating, right?
Yeah,
It's
what
in Rumi's field. Let's paint in Rumi's field, right? It's like
yes.
great. There's so much more freedom and so much more possibility when we're not judging mostly ourselves first,
Yes,
because
yes,
really
yes,
the
yes.
judgment starts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a level of freedom that most people never experience in their life or even are exposed to in their
Yeah.
lives, right? Like I get that we're all around people. It feels like a super radical thing to do when we're around people who are living in the am I doing it wrong, or are you doing it wrong, or is that political party doing it wrong, or is, you know,
Yeah.
everybody doing it wrong. Who's doing it wrong? Who's doing it right? That's a way to live. That's a game to play. And
Like, not like, thumbs up, thumbs down.
yeah, the polarity, right? The polarity of am I doing it wrong or am I doing it right? So, yeah, thank you for asking that question today, Stacy. That was a pretty
Yeah,
cool
I'm just
explore.
really committed to sharing here the how.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do this?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, and I'll say this, enough TED Talks and books. There's so many, we know that mindset's important. We know that, being your best, high performing, right? There's so much content out there about that. And then when the rubber meets the road, you're like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
How are people making this happen? And
Yes.
I believe a lot of that is
Yes.
different ways of looking at it, and then practice,
The
right? So it's
choice.
practice. Yeah. And just what's coming forward is the other day, my son Bailey was studying and stressed and kind of getting into fear. Probably I was getting into fear because he was stressed.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember even which wise mentor said this to me, but when that happens, and I told him this, just repeat love, 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 love to yourself out loud or inside if it's weird. Love,
Yeah.
love. And it changes your whole chemistry. And
Yeah.
it's such a pattern interrupt. And you can't be stressed and in anxiety when you're repeating love, 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 love to yourself. Like,
It's difficult.
yeah, it's like, wow, wow.
That's
And
a
it
beautiful
helps you
access
just
point. Yes. It's a beautiful.
shift. So I just want people to get simple hows that,
Yeah.
like, you never worked with us. You could just run around practicing in your car, in traffic, in your yucky meetings with your spouse. Love, 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 love,
Love, love,
love.
love, love. The thing that I was thinking of when you were saying it is, you know, say I notice I'm in the judgment or in the I'm doing it wrong. Because so back to what we said, like it's the human experience to live in right and
Happen.
wrong. We're not saying that you're doing it wrong if it comes up again, right? But what if every time, so what I love to do is every time I have a thought that isn't serving me, that is, I'm noticing if I have the am I doing it wrong thought, and then I give myself the answer, yes or no, honestly, doesn't feel all that great. I just love to say no thank you to the
Yeah.
thought. What if we could have a thought, and it could be about anything, use the no thank you thing for anything. I look fat in these jeans, I don't care what it's about, right? What if just for 1 week, I invite everyone, anyone who listens to this, to listen to their thoughts, right? Become the witness to your thoughts. And then if you have one that doesn't make you feel wonderful, just tell it no thank you.
No, thanks.
Thanks. No thanks. See what happens. See what
Yeah,
happens. Your brain will pop out another thought. You might need to say no thank you to that one too.
yeah.
But I swear that when we make our thoughts not work, right? When a thought is just our brain producing a piece of data that's like, is this useful? Is this useful? Is this useful? And so I like to let it know if it's useful or not.
No, thank you. Not useful.
No, thank you.
Oh,
No, no.
yeah. My ego, before all of this work was driving the car, right? So instead of kicking, and I wanted to like kick it to the curb and then run over it 60 times. And what I've learned is like, yeah, it's not
You
that
mean that the negative thought, right?
I've
The
learned
unuseful thought.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like the mean ego voice, right?
You got to
That
find out where it comes from. You got to find out whose voice that was, right? We got to do all
just
this stuff. Yeah, yeah.
I was
I
just
get it.
like, yes, thank you. You can sit, you can still stay in the car, but
Yeah.
please sit in the back seat. You don't get to drive.
You're not
So
driving. Yeah.
you're not driving. Please stop driving the car. We're gonna just pull over. You still get to come. We
Yes.
love you
We
because
love you. Uh-huh.
resistance doesn't work.
Right.
I've tried driving over her 60 times. She still comes back like a horror movie. So it's just like, thank you. Please stop driving the car. Get in the back seat, and you can come for the ride.
But listen, so what we're talking about now, this is where the rubber meets the road in self-love. Because those thoughts that aren't useful, that provide some pain for me, that's my brain. That's still me. Like I'm not trying to reject, right? Any part of me that I'm not trying to tell my brain it's doing it wrong. I'm really
Yeah.
not. Right? I'm just, if someone handed me something at the grocery store, if I was like at the grocery store and they're like, here's this box of things, I don't eat dairy, so here's some cheese, right? I would just say, oh, no, thank you. Right? I don't hate the cheese. I'm not mad at the cheese. I'm not mad at you for handing me some cheese. That's so nice that you were offering me something that, you thought had, maybe I would enjoy. But I'm going to say no, thank you to the cheese. It gives me arthritis. That's not a thing I'm going to eat. So same with my thoughts, right? My thoughts come in, they're not bad. My brain's not bad for having them. Nothing's wrong with me. But if it's something that I don't want to consume and I don't want to create identity around or even experience around, then it's no thanks. Let's pick
Okay.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
So we provided some good practices here. I think
Yeah.
that is a pretty
Awesome.
good
No,
place to
thank you.
start.
Love, 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 love,
Love,
love.
love, 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 love.
Rumi's field. Thank you. We're just gonna put that beyond right doing and wrong doing and just,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
putting down the sword and picking up the paintbrush. It's an option we have all the time. All the
and just
time, all the
consider
time.
that what if you're doing it all right?
Yeah. What if everything's okay?
What if
And
everything's okay?
what if everything's okay and you get to change whatever you want whenever
Yeah.
you want? Yeah.
That. All
Beautiful.
right.
Well, thank you so
So
much, Stacey.
tell us in the comments how it's going, any feedback. We'd love to hear what you're putting to practice.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to have a conversation with either of us about how to apply these things to your life, go ahead and send a message. We would love to chat. Thanks, everybody. Love ya.